Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We'll explain how NCBA's efforts in Washington, D.C. help protect the business climate for cattlemen and women across the country. Plus, see how John Deere equipment can help you maximize efficiency and increase production on your farm or ranch.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Lane Nordlund. Often, we members of the beef industry get so busy taking care of things out on the home operation that we lose track of important issues in Washington that could impact our farms and ranches. That's why the National Cattlemen's Beef Association is truly so valuable. The staff in D.C. work every day to protect the economic, political, and social interests of U.S. cattle producers so we can focus on our own operations. And joining me today to discuss some of those key issues is Ethan Lane, Senior Vice President of Government Affairs for NCBA. And Ethan, thanks for joining us here today.
Great to be with you.
Well, we are a few months into President Trump's second term. What are some of the key things that NCBA has been watching and advocating for in this first year of President Trump's administration?
Sure. You know, we have such a long history with President Trump, having done this for 4 years before, obviously having relationships with him and his team in the years when he was out of office, and being able to sort of hit the ground running, knowing what this administration would sort of look like, you know, with that historical knowledge, knowing where they wanted to go from some of the work they did through the America First Policy Foundation, laying the groundwork for this administration, knowing what Congress's intent was with the reconciliation package all the way back to last year. This made the beginning of this Congress much easier in some instances because we knew exactly where people wanted to go. We were able to slot into that, use the tools at our disposal, use our grassroots and our policy book to go after those tax policy wins, go after those farm bill provisions that were secured in the One Big Beautiful Bill. And that was a really successful beginning to this term. Obviously, whenever you have President Trump, you have some crazy Ivans, you know, you have some things that come up that we weren't expecting. And this administration has been great about listening to true industry voices. They've been really good, and they've learned a lot about how to ignore the fake cattle producers on Twitter and the guys who stopped off for a straw hat on their way to the studio, you know, that are always trying to prognosticate about the industry. They have figured out where the real industry is, where the real producers are, and they've looked to us for input on those things. And that's been really successful in navigating these first few months.
What are a few policy wins that NCBA has seen in the past few months?
So first and foremost, those tax policy provisions, the death tax and those different tax 179, 199A, 2032A, you know, some of those different tools that our producers really lean on to try to preserve their operations and hand them down generation to generation. That was really at risk coming into this year if that tax package wasn't renewed. So that was the top priority for us on Capitol Hill. We wanted to hold what we had in the death tax, that exemption level from 2017, you know, over $10 million. We settled at 15 per individual and $30 million for a couple, indexed for inflation, made permanent. You know, in addition to those other tax provisions being plussed up and indexed and made permanent as well, that really moves the needle on producers' ability to look forward 10 or 20 years and really start planning to compensate for those escalating land values and that suite of problems we know are coming whenever there's that generational transfer. We also really were pleased to see all of our farm bill priorities included in there. So full funding for the Animal Disease Vaccine Bank in Manhattan, Kansas, and all the programs that surround that. Full funding for those conservation programs. A fix for that IRA money that was creating some sort of double standards in the EQIP and some of those programs. All of those conservation tools, research money, disaster assistance. We really ran the table as far as the things producers needed from that process, and that's really put us ahead of the game as far as our priorities for this 2-year Congress.
Now, as we focus on the fall and truly wrapping up 2025, which is hard to believe, what are some of the biggest issues you are looking at right now in D.C.?
Well, it's September in Washington, which means it's time to fund the government and it's time to worry about a government shutdown. That's what we do every year this time of year. It's how you know the leaves are going to change. And right now we're working through that process. Congress has a couple weeks left to get to a government funding bill. We know that there's going to be that usual wrangling that we see. We also know that Chairman G.T. Thompson needs to do a second farm bill, a skinny farm bill, in order to clean up all the things that didn't qualify for the reconciliation package. By and large, those aren't cattle industry things, that's other parts of agriculture. But that's going to be a pretty tall order, and it's going to occupy a lot of time for Congress here in the fall.
Well, Ethan, thanks for joining us and giving us a brief update on activity out in the Beltway.
Happy to do it.
And as Ethan said, a great way to support your business and your fellow cattle producers out in the countryside is becoming a member of NCBA. It's easy to do. Just call 866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org and use that promo code C2C and you'll get a special gift just for our viewers. Well, CattleCon 26 is just a few months away, and there was a big change announced to the educational portion of the event. And for the first time, all registrations also include admission to Cattlemen's College, sponsored by Zoetis. We asked some of our NCBA producer leaders to share their thoughts on the many educational opportunities available in Nashville.
We think at NCBA that one of the things we can provide for people is information and where to go get information. And so those educational opportunities, we're hoping that people can avail themselves of that and find out about new technologies, cattle handling, things like that. And so we think that's something that we can do with our allied industry partners to help people learn more about what they're doing.
NCBA has integrated different education events throughout entire CattleCon week, which is really fun. So I'm walking through the trade show and I might be looking for a certain product and I stumble across the Learning Center and I have an opportunity to learn about a topic maybe I wasn't aware of before. It's a great opportunity.
Anybody that's in the business, they want to be educated about the future of the business. They want to be ready for any change they need to do in their operation, and the education that we provide helps them do that and get ready for the future.
There are many excellent reasons to attend CattleCon, and there's still plenty of time for you to make plans and join us. Convention runs February 3rd through the 5th in Nashville. You can register and get your housing all set at the website convention.ncba.org. Technology has revolutionized nearly every industry, reshaping traditional business models and creating new opportunities. Here's a look at how new grazing technology has impacted the cattle industry and why the most successful and sustainable producers should be willing to embrace change.
Cattle producers are always looking for ways to improve their grazing management to maximize grass production for their cattle. New technologies, including software platforms and precision data tools, can help producers make more informed and efficient choices.
It's really trying to create some efficiencies because we all have a limited amount of time and money. And if we can kind of reduce the amount of time that it takes to capture this data and catch it real time, I think it helps us to make better decisions.
James was a presenter at a Cattlemen's College session that provided attendees with an in-depth look at various grazing management software platforms, focusing on how they work, the benefits, and the practical applications for better managing resources and enhancing sustainable cattle grazing practices.
I said in the panel today that there's probably 20% of producers that are kind of overachievers that have really already, kind of taken technology and ran with it. And then I would say there's probably another 20% that are kind of trying it out. Maybe they've been inspired or encouraged by one of their neighbors that's adopted some technology. And then there's 60% of producers that really are pretty busy and maybe haven't really thought of how they can leverage technology.
Advanced analytics and precision tools allow farmers and ranchers to track and identify which practices yield the best results. And with access to clear, data-driven insights, they can easily share their methods with consumers, state and federal agencies, or even their fellow producers.
Data, just for the sake of data, is not valuable at all, but the insight that we can gain from that data is what's really important. And so that's one of the things that technology is helping us do now, is create these patterns and visualize the stuff that we kind of had in our head that maybe was intuitively, we couldn't always describe it to somebody else. But now we're taking and organizing this data in a way that we can communicate it, not just to consumers, but to each other. It's about storytelling, right? And actually having data that can back up some of our stories. There's a lot of really great stewards that are out there doing really good work, using cows as a tool in whatever space we're talking about, water, biodiversity, carbon, all of these conversations that are going on. How can we actually use technology to help capture that data so we can tell a truthful and thoughtful story?
By embracing technology, A cattle operation may also appeal to the tech-savvy mindset of younger individuals, which may help encourage them to stay in agriculture.
I think that's a real opportunity there. There's so much advancement in technology and in this space right now that we've just provided an entry point for young people to come back and really kind of embrace how they can leverage the skill set that they have, maybe the things that they've learned or kind of the world that they've grown up with technology in their hands every day, and actually bring it and catapult their operation even that much further.
Properly managing pastures can be a challenge, but new grazing management technologies can provide cattle producers the tools they need to find effective solutions. I'm Brad Buller reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll show you how John Deere equipment is making a difference for some Missouri cattle producers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
Join the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. NCBA is the oldest and largest national cattle industry organization working to defend your interests in Washington, D.C. And there are big benefits to being a member. You'll get news you can use in the National Cattlemen, email updates in the NCBA Beef Bulletin, plus big discounts only for NCBA members. Join by calling 866-233-3872 or online at ncba.org.
There's a lot of work to get done on farms and ranches across the countryside, and cattlemen and women need equipment that is reliable, versatile, and easy to use. Here's a look at how John Deere equipment is helping some Missouri producers achieve their goals.
Hi, I'm Chad Whitty with Whitty Beef Cattle Company. What we do here at our operations, we operate about 250 cows. We raise them, feed them, breed them, and calve them in monoslope buildings. We're able to produce all the feed, actually all on our properties here.
When you're making hay, you only have a certain amount of window. And lately, these summers and the rains have definitely given you very small windows. So, with our windrower, we can now bale twice as fast as we did the traditional way of with a regular hay conditioner. Almost probably 3 times as fast. Vaughn, don't you think?
I would agree. We were being able to cut 20 to 25 acres in a day's time, and now we're to 50 or 60 acres.
And then I'm able to follow right back in with him, where I used to be able to bale more than he could cut. Now I'm struggling to keep up with him. So we are tight windows on rain, especially this summer alone. It was hard to get a 36-hour window between rains. Well, the John Deere equipment we use today is we produce a lot of hay here. So we've recently purchased a couple years ago a John Deere windrower W260. Also, baler. Today we use a V461R baler we just recently got. And we have various John Deere tractors, mainly the 7 Series, ranging from 170 horsepower to 280 horsepower. Well, John Deere tractors actually give us the reliability that we weren't getting with our previous ones. We're also operating at a little higher horsepower with the John Deere tractors, and that is a big benefit. We also use the technology. We use the auto steer on them whenever we are tilling or planting. So a lot less stress, and honestly, you can actually concentrate on what you need to do.
Currently with the windrower, we use the satellite technology, which allows us to use AutoPath from the operations center. In John Deere, the AutoPath, it makes us to be the most efficient way to get the crop out of the field, and that can be programmed to use every time that we're cutting that particular field.
The efficiencies of using John Deere technology and cutting the fields was just amazing. Just really can't talk enough about that. So shortly after that, we ended up having to start probably from within a course of 2 years, going from 1 John Deere tractor to about 5 John Deere tractors. Then from there, realized to help maintain our barns, we did have other skid steers, but we tried out the John Deere 331G skid steer. And we realized the maneuverability of what we can use with that inside the barn. We would sit there and clean these alleyways, clean the pins, and it would take no time at all to get the manure out, repack, bed the beds down again with straw, and it just, again, a time saver. With Science Kenobi, our local John Deere dealer, you have answers right away. They will help you at any time to get you the part that you need. They will not necessarily just get you the part, they'll actually come out and help you in the fields.
If you'd like to learn more about how technology and equipment from John Deere can add value and increase productivity on your farm or ranch, visit your local dealership or check out the website johndeere.com. Still to come, you'll learn how NRCS is partnering with ranchers to restore grasslands and improve grazing. Stay with us.
Flagging obstacles, mapping boundaries, setting A/B lines. What used to take plenty of time in the tractor seat now gets done with a Gator XUV. Precision ag technology goes nimble in our redesigned utility vehicle. It's tech that's efficient, effective, and easy to implement into your operations. Get more from your Gator XUV with Bluetooth connectivity, AutoTrack ready compatibility, and Green Star ready operation. Upgrade the way you work today.
This beef quality assurance tip is funded by the Beef Checkoff.
Hi, Jolie Fitzsimons here to talk to you today about the Beef Quality Assurance Program and our online BQA modules. If you've been certified online before, you can now go back and look up your certificate or get recertified online. Go to bqa.org under the certification tab to get logged in. Don't worry if you forgot your password. You can reset it on the site or reach out to customer support for assistance. If you've never been certified before, we'd love for you to head to bqa.org today and get signed up.
The Beef Quality Assurance Program is funded by the Beef Checkoff.
Restoring native grasslands takes time, effort, and expertise, but cattle producers don't have to do it alone. Here's a look at how the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS, can support farmers and ranchers in their goals to bring pastures back to life and improve cattle grazing opportunities for the long haul.
On the eastern edge of South Dakota, corn and soybeans dominate the landscape, but not for Dawn Butzer and her family, who are working to grow their cattle business. They bought 100 acres of cropland and are turning that ground into native pasture.
I knew that it was going to be a daunting task because it's not every day that someone is putting tillable ground back to pasture. And so that's when I reached out to NRCS, because I knew that the government put that agency in place to help people like me. They are built for providing information. And so I went to my NRCS team, my local in Lincoln County, and I said, this is the plan, these are my goals, and this is what I want to do.
Don came in the very first time and had some really big goals and wanted to change crop ground to range ground, something that's not prominent down in southeast South Dakota. So it was a really great opportunity to work with a new producer and see their goals and ambitions to really want to graze livestock.
The value for them is great. The value for the land itself, it's also great. They want to be cattle people. That's their life's ambition, and we're doing it the best way we know how.
Before Dawn got started, she gathered information at a South Dakota Grassland Coalition grazing school. Cost sharing for the project came from Ducks Unlimited and South Dakota Game, Fish, and Parks. And the NRCS team stepped in with needed technical assistance to help create a plan for success.
As far as technical assistance, we kind of had a major hand in developing the seed mix, where to get the seed, how to plant it, everything else. We also helped her with water tank design, pipeline design, and her stream crossings.
So NRCS helped us do our homework on what type of water systems we wanted to put in, and also the water line layout. So you have a big rectangular parcel. Where do you put the waters? Do you put the waters in each quadrant, or do you kind of cluster them? And by clustering the automatic waters, we saved money on, labor of digging and the pipe.
From waterers to stream crossings, seeding mixes, and more, this expertise is available to any producer who reaches out to NRCS.
NRCS has a presence in almost any county across the nation, and it just takes walking into the office and visiting with technical staff in that office. So I would encourage any producer, any landowner to swing into their local NRCS office and start the conversation.
Working with NRCS really brought me a lot of comfort because they brought the education to the table. I just implemented it.
On the Butzer land, the native plants still need time to establish a root system, so it will be more than a year before cattle graze this land. But the results in just the first 5 months are impressive.
I am very impressed with the point that we're at in this project. When you first look at it from the road, you kind of go, boy, that's just a weedy mess. But you walk out here, it's just phenomenal, the diversity we got going on. Because if you start digging around, we have way more native grasses and forbs than we do any kind of weed pressure out here.
If you look around, it's pretty incredible. We're walking through grass that's shoulder high, we're getting pollen on our shoulders and all the way down to our knees. So the diversity out here is incredible. It puts a smile on everyone's face, and it's just different than the corn, bean, and alfalfa that we generally see in the county.
I come here and it feels like you, especially when you come down here on this creek bed and you can't see anything but grass, it really does feed my soul. And I feel like it's almost like the ground saying thank you.
From Lincoln County, South Dakota, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
If you have conservation practices you would like to put in place on your operation, you should start by visiting your local NRCS office about the technical and financial assistance they provide. Go to their website, nrcs.usda.gov, to find an office near you. When we come back, we'll introduce you to a young Florida cattlewoman who has carved a unique path through the industry. That story is straight ahead. Stay with us.
Are you concerned about the impact government policies could have on your cattle business? One way to make your voice heard in Washington is by joining NCBA. When you join, you'll be part of the nation's oldest and largest national cattle industry organization that has a professional team working in Washington, D.C. on issues that matter to cattle-producing families nationwide. Don't stay on the sidelines. Make your voice heard by joining NCBA today at the website ncba.org.
Do you have an upcoming production sale to advertise? Then contact the Cattlemen to Cattlemen marketing team or your breed association to learn more.
Gina Tran didn't grow up in agriculture, but has grown into a strong advocate for the beef industry. She discovered her love for cattle through her high school FFA program and went on to earn a degree in animal science from the University of Florida. She was recently a guest on the Cattlemen's Call podcast and told me about her time interning on the Buck Island Ranch, where she first learned how to ride a horse.
Fun fact, I did not know how to ride a horse when I got there, and they put me on one the first day, and yeah, it was a big learning curve, but it was good.
So what were some of the key things that you walked away from with that experience?
Since it was my...
Rather than riding a horse.
Since it was my initial, I guess, exposure to the industry, really, like boots on the ground, just taking it all in, really learning what a cow-calf operation looks like and understanding that it looks different for everybody. And nowadays, everybody has to diversify to be sustainable and profitable. And the manager there, Mr. Gene Lawless, was very involved in everything he possibly could be, and he still is. And so, really getting to pick his brain day to day. And he did this thing that I'm so grateful he did. At the end of each day, he made me ask him 3 questions about anything. It could have been anything from the forage on the place, their breeding program. It could have been just about industry involvement. And he made sure I learned something every day, even if I just was patching fence or something.
Want to hear or watch more of my Cattlemen's Call discussion with Gina? Well, just scan the QR code on the screen or subscribe wherever you stream podcasts. You can also find this and other podcast interviews on the Cattlemen to Cattlemen YouTube page. That wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks for spending time with us, and we'll see you again next week on RFD TV.